Welcome to Winning Lifestyle Podcast. This is David Shen, your host, and today's a very interesting episode because I have a co-host here, CJ Fortunat. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm CJ. Very nice to meet everybody. I am co-hosting with David today, and I am actually very, very excited today for today's guest.
I am too, because we have a special guest today, Saylessi Savant. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Yes, my name is Saylessi Savant. Greetings to all those that's watching. Yes, Saylessi Savant. I'm a poet. I'm an artist. I'm a visionary, and this creativity in me means so much because it saved me from destruction. So that's why I take my art. That's why I take my poetry and my the vision that I have for the community so serious. So we're going to dive into that shortly.
I love that. So, Saylessi, you have a published work that came out recently?
Yeah, I just published one of my poetry books. It's called From My Mind to Yours, Enjoy. And it's a curated work of about 8 years of selected poems that I've written when I was incarcerated. So during those times of my incarceration, there's the range of emotion, when you're in that type of predicament, it kind of fluctuates back and forth from different extremes. The lowest of the lowest of, feeling like you're just desolate, the pain, the missing out, missing your family, to moments of insight and reflection and joy, discovering yourself. So all those things were like transmitted into these bodies of work, and that's why I think that this book is very important, because not only was it a testament to what I was going through, but it was my pen served as like a therapeutic agent, while going through these things. But not only do I want it to, because it helped me in a lot of different ways. Like creative writing is so, like journaling, creative writing, those things are like a overlooked therapeutic tool for a lot of obstacles and challenges that people might be facing.
Gotcha.
So not only was it therapeutic to me, but I also want it to be therapeutic to other people when they read the work.
How long did it take you for you to kind of start developing that habit?
Well, I started as an MC, right?
In incarceration, or
no, like prior to my incarceration, I did music. So writing in me was like second nature, but it was within the realms of my incarceration, in which I wasn't really expressing myself for the delight of other people's ears, but I was expressing myself for the to purge myself with a lot of pain that I was going through, to discover myself from that. I was walking around with a mask for so long, and when you write, it's kind of like sometimes you're looking at your writing like, who is this person? You know what I mean? Like, who wrote this? You know what I mean? Does that guy live in me? Because our social constructs are how we present ourselves, with our social mask, and how our ego wants to present ourselves to the world. Sometimes it's something different than who we truly are. So when you write, you really go into that authentic place of genuosity, and you spill from that well.
And like what you're saying, like didn't mean to cut you off, but like when I'm doing my podcast too, like I get a real sense of what I sound like to other people too, what I look like, my emotions that I have, because as we were talking about earlier, like sometimes in your head you're saying specific words, but then in reality you're just trying to use general terms that you're used to, assuming that the other person probably understands what you mean, but depending on your upbringing, some words mean different things,
Right.
And then as a way to like write down, you could kind of see what words you're using, how precise they are. And with poetry, I feel like that's a great way to kind of like visualize what you're actually saying,
How many people could articulate their emotions? Because we have like this cultural norm these days, with people saying, I feel some type of way. I feel some type of way about that. So no, like that's like a lazy way out. What do you mean you feel some type of way? How about you actually take the time to identify what you're feeling about this particular thing that happened to you, And then once you distinguish how you feel about it, then you can make up your mind to respond to it, and not react. You know, I feel some type of way. It's a lazy and it's a reactionary thing, right? I feel some type of way to it. That means that I'm not trying to investigate what that feeling is. I'm not trying to discover. It's not that important to me, even though it's affecting me, and then it's going to affect the next series of decisions and actions that I have. You know, so it's very important.
You know, it's interesting because you mentioned that time in your life, that moment of solidarity, isolation. Do you think that if you never had that moment, that you would actually write poetry and get into the arts?
Man, at the level that I'm operating in right now, no. Because it required me to be still and go to a place of unintentional solitude,
right?
And
it helps you to grow,
and be free from distractions and actually, I have a background with drug and alcohol abuse. So so when I was ripping and running the streets, you know what I mean, getting low and getting high and stuff like that, like I didn't really care to investigate myself. I wanted to mask all the pain that I was going through. I didn't want to think critically about the things that was going on in my life.
And I think and I think it was bound to happen because like, what would have happened if he didn't get incarcerated? I guess we'll never know. But I think that happened because of the word choice that you had or those actions that you had. But then the thing is, everybody makes mistakes. But then if we can own up to those mistakes and learn from them, that's what separates winners. And then our lifestyle that we have. Sorry to cut you off earlier.
No, it's good. I mean, because that's a great point. Like, winners have to acknowledge their failures.
Right.
If they don't acknowledge their failures and they own up to it, how can they take those corrective steps to be a better version of themselves?
Yeah.
I messed up right here. I need to make an adjustment in my pivot. You know what? My core belief system is all off. I'm in denial right now about this issue. I do have an addiction. I do have a problem. I am hurting the people around me because of my addiction. Once we realize that, then you can start making changes. But if you like, no, I'm just me. This is just me. Deal with it. There's not going to be any growth from it. And that's not the winner mentality. Because the winner mentality, the winner mentality allows one to look out into the environment and be sensitive to the feedback of the environment when dealing with other people.
Exactly. Like in a lot of sports, you could tell like, oh, I won or I lost. You know exactly like what happened. And then you can kind of like make changes to the mistakes you made, right?
Exactly.
Like if you make a mistake in sports, you got to run laps. You got to do something. But then in real life, in talking to other people, sometimes you're not as aware, like you said, and then once you start to pick up, like, I don't think I won that argument or, quote unquote won or was able to achieve this communication that I wanted to. And that's like a major thing that I feel like you were able to kind of grasp, So
one thing that I noticed is that, I mean, in my early 20s, late 20s, I don't think we actually know ourselves. We kind of go through life, we're trying to be successful in life. We're building these relationships, but we don't take the time to know ourselves and do meditation. And that's why I asked you that question before. I think when I started getting my 30s, I started meditating, spending time with myself. If that makes sense. When you spend time with yourself, you get to know yourself, what you like, what you don't like. And what that does, that kind of fosters better relationships going forward. Right. So it's like, that period of isolation, you were able to meditate and see like the kind of person that you were.
It's funny that you say that because that was one of the primary tools that I used to regain my mental faculties. Was meditation.
Mic up a little closer.
It was mental. So those are one of the primary tools that I used to regain my mental faculties, which was meditation. That was my go-to because I lost my mind. I literally lost my mind.
Explain that.
So me dabbling in drugs and alcohol, I was abusing it for so long. I was functional and I was doing photography and doing event promotion.
But here's the question.
And I thought,
I'm sorry to cut. Were you happy during that time?
No, I was grinding. Yeah,
At
I
the
call
time, did
myself
you know?
grinding. No, because at the end of the day, my exterior was like, okay, I got this and this and this and this going on. But as soon as my head hit that pillow, depression.
Time to be with yourself.
It was depression, anxiety, all these different things was going on, and I didn't know what that was. I didn't even know what that was at the time because, you know, I was high. You know, on my alcoholism and didn't allow me to feel or want to investigate. So doing that for so long, my mind eventually collapsed.
Yeah.
You know, and so while I was incarcerated, I had to tell myself I need to regain that.
Yeah.
You know, I had to regain that, and one of the tools that I used was meditation.
Yes.
And just understanding that I only have one mind, and through this vehicle and through this tool is gonna determine the outcome of whatever else happens in my life.
You gotta nurture it.
So nurture it. You know what I mean? You know, growing up, you see all the commercials like this is your brain on drugs. Right. You know, you see like a little egg going into the skillet, and you're like, And as you're younger, we always have like this. Well, it's not going to be me complex. It's like this invincibility. Right. That's everybody else. Yeah. Everybody else could smoke cigarettes. I'm not going to get lung. Everybody else, they're going to get lung cancer. I'm not going to get lung cancer. It's not me. Yeah. It's like an exclusive thing that we got going on, but it's a form of disillusionment. And I was heavy into that. Yeah. So, so me just getting real in that cell, meditating, cutting everything off, blocking everything off, man, and restructuring my mind. And that's where a lot of this artwork came from too. Yeah. Was from that process.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to post some of that. I'll post it in the links on YouTube too. And so I'm going to shift gears a little bit.
Absolutely.
When you were incarcerated, I know a very famous book in a lot of jails is the 48 Laws of Power. You said you read it. And what is the most important laws that stood out to you?
Oh, man. A lot of people deem that as like a draconian book. You know, it can be used to malevolent means, but it also could be used as a benevolent tool to advance and progress in life, because, you know, society within itself are based on these laws. Like everybody in some shape, form, or fashion is jockeying for power. But we can't be afraid of the term power, right? Because power, it motivates and inspires and encourages. It shapes narratives. It shapes the community. It forges politics. The power dynamics that's within the home, the family power dynamics, you know, so there's nothing wrong with power, because power is just charge. It's the ability to make things move. That's what power is, right? But then there's abuses of power.
That's what I was going to say next.
And then some people use that book to abuse the power that they get. So to answer your question, reinventing yourself was one for me.
Okay.
Reinventing yourself, because I was operating out of a faulty kit of dysfunction. Right. So reinventing myself, not just on the surface, just about how I look and how I talk and the people that I associate with, but it was also reinventing how I looked at the world. You know, what's going to be my value system? Going from the I don't give a fuck attitude to, you know, this is what I care about. You know, this is what I stand on. This is my belief system. These are the type of people in the communities I'm going to advocate for. You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
So, so reinventing myself was number one. That's definitely number one. And using the mirror tactic, right? So, one principle in there is a law called use your mirror tactic. So it's basically a tool that's used in a social dynamic to gain rapport with people, basically by mirroring what they do. Like he's, you know, scrunching up his face right now, so I would do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even mean to.
And see how his arm is like. See his arm is like that. So I would do it. I'll kind of mirror that, right? But the intention isn't to. But the mirror technique is good for empathy, right? Because if you could mirror someone, you could kind of see what's going on with them. You could actually embody what they're going through that time, so you could be a little bit more empathetic. You could recognize and feel what they're going through. Like we have this thing called mirror neurons. So when we see somebody else in pain, it's a certain, those mirror neurons makes us feel that to certain. It might not be the exact pain, but we could feel some type of pain on an emotive level,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can empathize with that person.
Yeah.
Right.
We can really feel what that person is going through, or
like
they
that.
telling us a story. You be like, yeah, man, I feel that.
Yeah.
It's not just like, okay, yeah, your mom died. Yeah, okay. You know, you be like, damn, your mom died. Word. Like you feel it too. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
So with that mirror technique allows you to push that empathy a little bit further.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like something that's I wouldn't say superficial, but something that doesn't seem like it would manifest in that way.
Right.
But it does. So I'm gonna start trying that, because I know somebody was talking about with words, like there's words of affirmation. If you say specific words before you sleep, or if you write things down, you feel like you're just going through the steps, but then it actually can manifest in those ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that.
But one thing I noticed, say less when I first met you, right?
Yeah.
It's like I remember I told Dave, I said, man, this guy is pretty cool. But at the same time, even though you said obviously we want to kind of mirror people, but you're different. And I mean, I can just notice that for me, right? Almost to the fact where I was like, man, this guy, just the way you move, just the way, you know, your mannerisms, I say, okay, this guy's kind of been through something.
Right.
I didn't really know what you had been through at the time,
Right.
but I said, this guy had been through something, and I could tell he's a better person because of it.
Yes.
You know?
Right.
Yes.
10 years ago, let's say 10 to 15 years ago, if you said that your life would turn out the way it is now, because right now, would you say that you're happy as a person?
You know, I am.
Okay.
I am. Yeah.
Could you say that 10 to 15 years ago?
I didn't know what happiness was
Explain.
15 years ago. Because 15 years ago, you know, happiness was foreign to me. It was just I was in survival mode on a day-by-day basis.
Right.
I had thrills.
But you weren't losing, though. We know this is a winning podcast, but you weren't losing, though. But you weren't winning.
I was, but I didn't know that I was losing.
Okay.
Then. You know, because I wasn't taking the proper steps to see winning. I mean, okay, I could go across the finish line. You know, I could get the trophy.
Yeah.
But the winning that we're talking about is on a perpetual basis. It's like perpetually winning.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's not like a marker. Like, okay, well, I put on a show, I did an event. Okay, that's cool, right? But winning is well-rounded in regards to the winning that we're talking about.
Right.
Are you winning with family? You know, you're winning with your what's going on with you emotionally. Are you winning mentally? Are you winning with So no, I wasn't winning. I had flashes of what winning may look like if I got my shit together. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. But I wasn't happy because again, like I would do all these different things, and when the lights come off and the cameras is off, I'm in the slump. Yeah. I was in the slump because I was anchoring my happiness to one or two things.
Yeah.
And when you anchor your happiness to one or two things, when those one or two things aren't available anymore, you're shot.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So I think I have a well-rounded means of happiness right now. And that's not to say that I'm still not going through battles, because there's an inner conflict within every man at every second of the day. Right? But your attitude and your mentality on how you tackle those things, and how you decide to respond to those things, that's different. You know, and I wouldn't even call it happiness, man. I would really call it joy.
I was going to say that next. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would call it joy, bro. Because
there's a difference. There's a difference.
Because I asked. I'm gonna pose this question to you guys too. If somebody gave you a happy pill, right? And you take this pill, and when you take this pill, you're happy forever. You're foreverly happy. Would you take the pill?
I wouldn't take that pill.
And why? And why is that?
Because I want to experience too. I think this reason I say that, because happiness to me is fleeting. I could be happy today, happy tomorrow. The next day, I'm not so happy. I wake up, it's like, I had a bad day. I'm not happy that particular day.
Right.
So that's why I think happiness is something that's day to day. But joyfulness in your life, when you have joy in your life, and I think that comes from God. When you have joy in your life, that's not fleeting. When you rely upon God in your life, right? And I feel as if that, from day to day, from year to year, you're joyful in life. You wake up, okay, I got a lot to live for. I'm joyful. But happiness to me, it's like, I could be happy for 10 straight days. I could be sad for 10 straight days. Yeah. So when you ask me that question, it's about, if I take a happy pill, be happy the rest of my life. No, I want to experience that to be sad. Yeah. I want to experience, to be angry, because it helps me to learn not only about myself, but again, it fosters better relationships for me going forward.
Right.
You know.
What about you?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and then that also provides more insight to what I was gonna say too. Because if you don't experience sadness, what's happiness after that? You know, and like it's funny you say the happy pill because there's like opium too, and then people are trying to get, or people aren't trying to, but they're getting addicted to it because they're not able to kind of foster these things in their own life that make them happy, that should make them happy. And a big part of it is people don't people take for granted the things that they are happy about. Like, you know, you could have a great relationship, but then you get used to it. You stop like valuing those things, and then you focus on the few things that make you happy, whereas that should also make you happy, and then you take advantage of it, and you could accidentally lose it too without keeping that in mind and being purposeful in the way you handle things, you know.
Not to cut you off, but like when I think about drugs too, I think that's what drugs are. Like they make you happy from time to time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you have a stressful day at work, a stressful day. You know, what I mean, you go home and you smoke some weed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, just to kind of relax your mind, right?
Right.
But if we really know ourselves, if we really train our minds to be joyful, we don't have to do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? We know that the true source of happiness we know is God. You know what I mean? And He can provide that for us. You know.
You know what's interesting? Like I run that scenario by people. I ask people that question, and a lot of the response is like, no, I don't want to take that happiness pill because I actually want to feel pain. If I'm at a funeral or something, I want to feel that loss of my significant other or my mom. Like I don't want to be happy all the time. I want to feel my lows.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. So I was like, so this whole concept of the pursuit of happiness is really an illusion because it's chasing something that's fleeting because but at the same time, look at that term, look at that statement, the pursuit of happiness, right? You're not happy yet while you're pursuing it.
Right.
But I'm on a pursuit of happiness, but a lot of people just fall in love with the pursuit. It's not even about getting the trophy and actually being happy. It's just knowing that you're chasing after something. You know? So it's kind of like people want to live deeply. The whole human experience is pain, is suffering, is sorrow.
Embrace it.
Is happiness. So you will know the difference between those two. You won't be able to enjoy that happiness until you understand that low, right? But it's interesting. So if you're in pursuit of happiness and you finally catch up to it and you grab it, how long do you want to sit with it?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How long do you want to sit with it?
Yeah.
You know, once you got it, do you want it forever? No, I want it to go away so I can chase it again.
Right.
You
Sometimes we have something too much. Like, I don't know if I want this.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's interesting. I want a little pain. I want a little aggression right now. You know, it's crazy. You know, but that's the human condition. You know, it's a little bit too perfect.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want it perfect, but now it's a little bit too perfect.
Yeah.
You know.
So, what are some of the things you're very happy about or joyful about?
Man, freedom. Freedom definitely number one. Being sober.
Yeah.
You know, being sober, actually being able to wake up in the morning and get
free.
up and go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not dependent on these different things anymore in order to be joyful. I'm joyful about, the things that's going on in my life. Seeing like a lot of these ideas that I was on my bunk, just writing about, envisioning doing, actually doing it now, sitting with you guys doing this podcast, it's just steps, like 2 years ago, I just envisioned something like this happening.
Yeah.
So for this to happen right now, and thanks again, brothers, for having me on.
Winners, man.
And just just being in the flow of life, even with the challenges that I'm facing. I'm joyful about having the ability to solve those problems. But then using the tools and having the accessibility to solve those problems with being free. Where I came from, we had this on death row. I didn't come from death row, but I was on the yard where they had death row inmates. And, these brothers in the law library, and they, they're doing their writs and they're trying to, get free. They're facing like 200 years. They on death row, they're not coming home to like 2070, 2080. And they'll love to have the problems that we have out here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when I start murmuring and complaining and stuff like that,
we take this life for granted.
I'd be like, I think about those brothers that I would just love. Like, will love to have these problems.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to stand in that DMV line, man. Shoot it.
Yeah. You know,
You got to pay that bill.
That DMV
Okay,
line,
you got to take those cancer recycling center in order to make days. I'll shoot it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like the challenges that we face, man, out here. We all, I mean, it's not to take away from the, because everybody's pain is unique.
Yeah.
It is not to take away from our customized challenges that the universe extended to us, right? Yeah. But looking at someone else's predicament always kind of makes you appreciate what you have that much more.
Yeah.
Be like, man, it could be worse.
Yeah.
It could be. It could be worse. Even third world countries, or even going to Skid Row.
Yeah.
I do avocation work down on Skid Row, and then seeing people that
it's commendable, man.
That's in that despair down there, and that don't have shelter, that don't have a place to go shower, that don't have a lot of different resources that we wake up to every day. I woke up this morning and I was like, man, I'm about to hop in the shower, I'm about to fix me some bagels, and a lot of people don't have that option.
Little things like that we take for granted.
You know
what I'm saying? So,
and with that freedom, there's specific rules, and it's not just like the government rules, but then within like social circles, there's like little rules too. At your job or within a relationship, you have specific rules.
Right.
And I feel like you have so much freedom as long as you abide by specific rules, or if you can kind of like exemplify these specific characters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then like a lot of people think like, oh, I wish I could do this and this. Well, if you think of the things that you can do, like what you were saying, there's a lot that we could do. All you got to just do is not break these laws, for me, like when I think as all guys, when we're younger, we just want to go out and like cause havoc and stuff. But then as I slow down, I realize like, why do I want to break these rules? It's because they tell me that I can't do it. And I'm like, all right, bet, let me see what'll happen.
Want to experience it for yourself.
Yeah. Because I think a lot of us as younger kids, or when we were in our 20s, we're just like troublemakers, know?
Right.
And then
and rules is there for a reason. I mean, if you observe like just the way the society is laid out as far as the laws, I'm like, I even feel some type of way about jaywalking. About jaywalking. Well, let me rectify that. I'm apprehensive about jaywalking. Very cautious. But these rules are there for a reason. So they're not just to inconvenience you, it's so that society can move smooth.
To keep you safe too.
It organizes society. If you didn't have a traffic light, if we just took all the traffic lights away today, it would be chaos.
Like a third world country.
Because you would think that we're self-regulated, right?
Yeah.
But no, we take those traffic lights. I got somewhere that I need to go, so everybody needs to move. Right. And if everybody thought that way, you have chaos.
Right.
Yeah, so these things in place is to check those, ambitions that we all have.
Switching gears here a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Switching gears a little bit. I know we talked a little bit about your poetry, and obviously poetry is a form of art, right? What other forms of art do you do?
So I do. I'm a ultra contemporary artist. I do abstract mandalas, conceptual art, and performance art. So with my abstract mandalas, those pieces I fashioned while I was incarcerated. Those were my meditative pieces, and upon doing those, it's part of my Mind Bloom series.
Yeah.
So Mind Bloom is basically derived from this technique that Tibetan monks use when performing doing a mandala. So it will be like 3 or 4 monks, and they'll take this colored sand, and they'll start in the middle of this mandala, and they'll just kind of meditate, and they'll just tap this colored sand in these patterns. Sometimes it take like days to complete, but they're just with the piece, each grain of sand, not thinking about nothing else, meditating in the process. And by the time it's done, they have this beautiful, intricate mandala. I seen that on a documentary called Samsura before. I remembered that documentary, so when I was in my cell doing my meditation, I wanted to mimic that process, but the only thing that I had was like a little graphite pencil and a piece of paper. So what I did was just started at the center of the piece of paper. I wasn't concerned about how the design was going to come out, but I just started with one dot, and I just started doing these patterns, and it just started blooming out. And when I look back, when I was done, I had like this intricate piece. So I called it Mind Bloom because that really helped me to understand that I was regaining my mental faculties. That my mind is beautiful, because I thought I was a wreck. I thought it was over with, that I have a terrible mind, like it was wasted. But by doing these art pieces, it was like a reflection of my mind saying like, no, you are beautiful. You know?
That's cool.
So my Mind Bloom series was based on that particular practice. And then it evolved to other forms of abstract art. That I'll be showing you guys shortly. So that's the first leg of the art. The second leg of the art is my conceptual art. So things that I want to really do out here in society. I took a lot of self-help groups where I was at, and self-help groups are so powerful. They're so powerful. They really helped me grow as an individual. So what I wanted to do is incorporate my art with self-help. So by putting on public art installations or public art performances that requires the participation of the public to create these art pieces, these works.
Man, that's different, but it's cool.
And that's coming very soon. I'm making preparations for that right now.
I'm going to post all those too.
I've seen some of that, I think. I mean, on your page. So that's pretty cool.
Was that kind of like the moment of reinventing yourself?
That was the moment of reinventing myself. And in a sense, it's kind of is reinventing myself by taking that false exterior off and bringing forward the true self.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, it was allowing the true self to be.
Right.
Instead of, these social constructs of who I thought I needed to be,
Yeah, because you kind of get in the habit of doing things like a specific way, and then you kind of like take everything away and then just focus on like your inner self.
Right.
Interesting. Do you have some of that the art that you were talking about? Let's see.
Saylessi.
This is the book here. It's From My Mind to Yours in Joy. It has about like 78 poems, and I also do some black and white photography to just really accentuate the poems.
Yeah, let's hear some.
Okay. Yeah. So let me show you the art first, and then we go into the question.
All right. Hey, let's bring that up there. Yeah.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Wow.
Look how intricate that is, though. See that?
Yeah, I don't want to damage anything.
Wow, that's.
You want to take it closer to the camera?
Definitely. Super cool. Super cool. See how intricate that is? Wow.
Amazing.
So as far as putting these in art studios, and as far as where you're going to be showing this art, do you have like a timetable for that, or?
Hey, yo, can I see this one? Is this what you were in reference to with the traffic lights?
Yeah, and drinking and driving.
Oh, okay.
This is called no drinking and driving.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the codes I stand for too.
Yeah.
Never drink and drive.
No drinking and driving.
Never.
That's no drinking and driving.
Yeah, I love that.
Super cool.
Beautiful.
So there's a few pieces. So if you guys want to check out the rest of the work, please visit my Instagram at Saylessi Savant 1.
I don't know if they could hear you, but I'll post it. Saylessi Savant 1. Yeah, I'll put it in the links too. Awesome.
Y'all go check it out. It's really nice. It's really nice.
So to answer your question about the gallery, so yeah, so I'm in a process of trying to get into galleries,
Right.
you know. But for right now, my IG is my gallery.
Right. All
you
right.
know, I'm also thinking about setting up like a virtual gallery, and I'm also seeking mentorship right now. We haven't locked it in, haven't discussed it, but I would like to seek mentorship from the owner of Bands of Vices.
Bands of Vices in downtown
Yeah,
LA.
Band of Vices in downtown LA. I really like the experience that they have there as far as the cultural representation. So that's one of my targets.
Yeah.
He doesn't know it yet. That's one of my targets.
Yeah, I know we had
work,
talked about that earlier.
to work closely with those guys. I love what they're doing down there.
Community based. I like them a lot.
And then so apart from that, my gallery is going to be the streets.
Well,
I'm going to be doing these pop-up art installations, and that's going to be coming soon. So I'm really excited about that. Really excited about
so that means to go see his art, you got to go out in the streets. Come on.
Absolutely. So let me share with you guys a poem that I'm working on right now. It's called I Value Me.
I could already tell I'm going to like this.
Yeah.
Like this.
I can't wait to see some of these art installations, like the pop-ups that you have.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'm like so in a hurry to get to where I need to be. It's hard to like just step back and like, you know, go back to the basic forms of pleasure. And, and really
just taking it in.
Yeah.
You know,
loving life, you know?
Yeah. So this is called I Value Me. The value of a diamond in a box doesn't depreciate just because it's locked. The visionary in me sees beyond what's perceived to be lost. These gun towers and razor wire dissolves as long as my purpose is involved, considering myself an asset with a non-shoddy rapport while making amends for the faults that I was liable for. Society can't referee the ascendancy of my self-esteem. I had to sidestep the cousin of death. Self-loathing in this disease, like going on a sleaze date with a cheapskate player. Actually loving yourself for our ways, just a cliche saying. The estimation of my value requires complicated tools, and you better have an infinite loop on whatever measuring tape you use. The way I move, captivate the room, and put mine to use took either billions of years of being fine-tuned or God using its specialty tools. Either way, it's cool. I'm going to make the art of thinking well the new symbol of wealth. Actions results, results. For the lack of better words, let it speak for itself. Fortunate to be alive because through all the bullshit that I survived, I'm a walking astronomical odd. My mode broke the cookie cutter. My uniquity cannot be robbed. I was choking on self-deception until it was dislodged. The truth Heimlich my diaphragm, and I smiled and responded in kind. Took sip from the fountain of wisdom. You could be someone else's stepping stone or elevate beyond the elements of convention. This is wisdom.
I love it. Wow. Was that a freestyle at the end too?
Yeah.
Oh, get out of here. I was like, is this pause part of it?
I'm still memorizing it.
Oh, okay.
But what you said next actually flowed perfectly.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that was...
Because I thought it was part of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
It was like that pause. That pause was for effect.
Yeah. Oh.
That pause was for effect.
I love it. Yeah, because I was like, wait, because when you followed it up, I was like, wow, you were able to come up with that just right on the spot. Tremendous.
Yeah, y'all get this poetry book. This poetry book is
absolutely
fire. It is fire.
I'm gonna read you one more from here.
All right.
This is called Deep Dive. I'm desperately trying to find my higher self in a world of lowly consideration. Frivolously searching every nook and cranny in a forgotten place, damp with the tears of unseen sobbing faces, and littered with the still wet surgical gauze from unsuccessful dissection of my irrational beliefs. I became infected with impatience, My traumas are cryogenically frozen in suspended animation, contained within a falsely labeled shatterproof vial of denial that's sensitive to temperature changes. Hence, the bipolarity of my nature. Or is it simply that I've been exposed to emotional extremes, happiness and hate in my life? Shootings at birthday parties, new job yet more bills, falling in love yet hating myself, witnessing both births and murders on the same day, free but enslaved by the pursuit of escaping my have-nots. My pain is contagious, but I'm not ashamed to admit that I need a hug. One of those moms used to give, warm, tight, snug, genuine. Yeah, one of those. I've employed reverse psychology to counteract the intentions of my pain, which was to make others feel the pain that I've been issued, but I refuse. Instead, I identified the very thing that's killing them slow, the thing I know all too well, revealing my wounds just to demonstrate how to stitch them closed. A symbolic gesture of hope. This is how you take those vicious blows while your back is against the ropes. Everybody is waiting for the moment when your chin shatters and your body drops limp to the floor, blinding, grasping, stiff, outstretched arms, seeking to regain the sense of security you once had. Obsessively, what if drunk on the punch you never got to throw? Yes, they were waiting for that, believe it or not, but you didn't drop. The pain that they wanted you to succumb to, they are now stuck with because that smile on your face disgusts them. Their outlook on life, their predictions about you, they're hoping for you to fail, dash against the rocks like a mishandled child, not supervised at the Grand Canyon. You shattered their reality by exhibiting a grit that they would never possess or even think was possible. Yeah, you showed them. No. You showed yourself because you needed to know what you could do and who you could trust through life's tests.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah,
That was deep.
there's some really good points. Like what you're saying about the impatience. Like
Yes,
people
that's
always
so
think,
funny. I was thinking the same exact thing. Go ahead.
Because I was thinking like to what you were saying about the mind bloom, like who has the patience to do that for days and stuff?
Right.
But like you have much more time if you are patient, you
Right.
know, if you can kind of sit back and kind of like take the perfect use of the time that you have right now, then you could save time in the future, you know, because like if you are able to kind of like respond accurately in the time that you are now, you know, you're able to better yourself, and I feel like the time that you do have just means so much more.
Absolutely.
But you know, it's funny because like he got something from that, and I got something completely different because I looked at impatience from a different point of view.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do something where we compare ourselves with others, right? Yes. Say, you know what, where we are in our life, I mean, we're not exactly where we want, but we look at someone else as like, I wish I was like, maybe not that person, but like, you know, I wish I was further along. Right. And we get impatient. And when we get impatient with ourselves, what happens? We start to get depressed. We get angry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's that? I forget who said what president said this. Comparison is the thief of joy. And that is like key in life. We compare ourselves to others, and that in turn makes us impatient.
And that's typically an upward evaluation, an upward comparison.
Yeah.
Because again, like we were saying, when you do a downward comparison, then you know you like, well, yeah, I have clean water, I have filter water. You know, I could hop in the shower in the morning, but my shower head isn't 24K plated like DJ Khaled's. You know what I'm saying? Like you do an upward comparison and you start feeling unappreciative of your station in life right now.
Yeah.
But on patience, right? When you're forced, a lot of people are like, well, I'm sitting in this line, I'm being patient. That's not being patient when you're forced to wait.
Right.
Like even people that was incarcerated, people were like, you know, you would think that you emerge as being a more patient person.
Right.
But if you're placed in a situation where you're forced to wait, that's not patience.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's being forced to wait in the attitude that you have while you wait.
Yes.
You can be like, man, this damn DMV line, man, I got to get up out of here. I got to do it. I'm forced to wait. And then, you know, that person might feel like, I was, you know, waiting patiently in line at the DMV. I'm patiently in line. I'm waiting.
Right.
No. Being patient, like, okay, I'm here. I understand that there's a line in my turn. It's going to take me a little bit more time, but we good. I could be doing other things. So I'm going to be patient. I'm going to wait on it.
But patience in life, too, talks about setting goals.
Yeah.
Setting goals for ourselves and say, you know what? It's going to be 2-3 years to, you know, get to the point where I want to be. Boom. Having that patience and understand to say it's going to take that time for me to grow, and then from there you get what you want, you know. So yeah, it's funny how we both thought about patience or impatience, but we saw it in two different ways.
Absolutely.
Those are great poems. Great poems.
Thank you.
Yeah. And go get this poetry book. I'm telling you.
For sure.
Yeah,
really
I'm
good.
doing like a self-instituted poetry tour this month. So
poetry tour. Tell us a little bit about this.
So what I decided to do was it's a lot of LA is like a poetry hotbed.
The arts.
So what I decided to do is kind of look at various different poetry spots throughout the city, and then just kind of mark on my calendar where these open mics are going to be held. And you have some on like the first Mondays or the second Tuesdays. You have like these. So I laid that out on my calendar, and I kind of booked up my month for these open mics, so I could start promoting the book and really getting back into the swing of open mics.
Man, that's dope. That is super dope. That's dope.
Yeah. So I call it a self-instituted tour.
Self-instituted tour. I like that.
Yeah. Poetry is just so awesome because like comparison to like rap music. I love a lot of rap music, but then some of it just gets so in a specific groove, just like what you were saying about I feel some type of way, and then people kind of get in such a groove of just rapping a specific way. But then one thing that I like, you were saying like, oh, I just want a hug, like people are afraid to say that. Like they're so fragile with their masculinity that they're afraid to kind of express themselves, and we need to get in the habit of doing that, even if it's not public, just for yourself, like what do I need, know?
And you was talking about that earlier.
Communication, right?
Communication.
Yeah.
And how, this concept of masculinity entails you not divulging information about what's going on with you emotionally or your personal life or your fears or your worries or your concerns, because you consider that as a vulnerability. And being in, this competitive society, a lot of people don't want to divulge that because they think that their enemies might weaponize that against them. And people aren't trusting. So they have defensive walls up. We all have defensive walls up that's like 3 miles thick. But silent suffering isn't the answer. So you isolate all your emotions and all your pain behind this thick wall, and nobody could get to you. In those same pains that you're trying to hoard is deteriorating your soul. It's eating away at you like a flesh-eating bacteria for the soul. Because you don't want to release it. You don't want to talk to anybody about it. So having a brotherhood and having trusted, guys that you could talk to about what you're going through, that's important. Because no, you can't share everything with everybody. But we have to make it a point by who can I trust with this? Who can I talk to about this? When I'm just going through some shit, I just need to talk about it, bro. And not attribute that trait to that's something that females do.
That's the thing.
You know what I'm saying? That's something that females do. I don't need to talk about my problems. No, that's a human thing. That's a human thing.
We cannot have that pent up. That pent up.
Yeah.
And the reason that we do that, let's talk about that a little bit, because I feel like the reason that men, we don't communicate as well is because sometimes when we're vulnerable with someone, right? Whether it be a man, like you said, that concept of toxic masculinity, right? We say to ourselves, if we're vulnerable with the man, tell them our emotions, then that person can hurt us,
right?
Whether it be a woman or a man, right? They know a lot about us. When someone knows a lot about us, they know who we are. They can hurt us,
right?
When someone doesn't know too much about us, we don't care what they think, right? They can't hurt me, right? But emotionally, we're scared, we're fearful of being hurt, So that concept that you just talked about was clear, like even to our own homeboys, we say. Right. We keep them at a distance. Right. We don't tell them everything. Maybe our brothers, maybe our, significant other, we might be a little bit more vulnerable with them. Right. But just regular friendships, we kind of have to be careful sometimes. It's like, who do we let into our circle? Well,
speaking of circles, they even have again, like I said, those self-help groups was very rewarding in that, there's like this confidentiality clause when going into this.
I can see that.
We keep it, whatever's, spoken in a circle stays in the circle. And that can also extend to family and your homeboys. Look, what stays here, it stays here, bro.
That's that trust we have.
But it allowed us to get open, need to divulge a lot of stuff. And to come to find out, that a lot of stuff that we go through as men in regards to our eternal pain, there's thousands of other men that's going through that same pain. It might not be the same situation, but the same fears and the concerns and the worries and the pains we
just don't talk about.
They be like, man, you going through that too? Okay, I don't feel alone in this now. Oh, you going through that too? Okay, I could talk about my stuff. You talk about your stuff. You know.
Yeah. It's a very good point.
Yeah. But when you're incarcerated, you probably definitely have to have some guards up because people take advantage of you.
For sure.
I think that everybody has means to be good, but then like you also got to protect yourself in a way.
Yeah.
And then finding the right people to be vulnerable too is important. Yeah. I love that.
And just using that wisdom to discern who's going to be those trusted people.
Yes.
In your life.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And opposed to, and it might be, you know, and the thing about it is that we could all look out and think about 2 or 3 people right now that we could do that with.
Yeah.
You know,
of course. Yeah.
Those are the people that's, hey, what's going on? You want to talk about it? What's going on? Those people in your life, but we brush them off.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? I'm good.
Yeah.
But those are people that are generally concerned about what's going on with you.
But like, what do we say to them? I'm good. I'm all right.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'm all right. Yeah.
Because that's a auto response too.
Yeah.
When we're navigating through society, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey man, how you doing?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Hey man, how you doing?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm blessed. You know, but what's really going on with you?
Yeah.
What's really going on with you?
Yeah.
But we're conditioned to do that because we're social beings. We're interacting. It's like a courtesy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a courtesy for you to say that you're good.
Yeah.
Because if I come in like, hey man, how you doing today? I feel like shit today, bro. I got shit going on.
Bro.
You want to hear about it? Yeah. People are stuck.
Yeah. You know
what I'm saying? People are stuck. You know.
That's a very good point too, because recently a good friend of mine had told me this, that no good relationship comes without conflict.
Right.
You know, not everything can be rosy all the time. No good relationship, whether it be a man with a woman, right? Whether it be you and your homeboy, no good relationship comes without conflict. Without that conflict, if you make it to that other side, that's how you know that this is real. This person really cares about me. I really care about this person. You know? Right. So when you talk about that's so true. You know what I mean? We have to be able to say, you know what? It's okay to have conflict. You know what I mean? You ask me how I'm doing. Hey, man, I had a terrible day today. You know what I mean? I had a terrible. You want to hear about it, bro? You know what I mean? Keisha at the office.
Yeah.
So it's just that's super important for us to do that. You know,
it's that those moments where you're angry or those moments where you're arguing, where you kind of really know your true self. Like, how do you respond to that? You know, like when we're all like calm and we're all like enjoying ourselves, having a good time, we could say exactly what's on our mind very accurately. But then when you're like angry at your spouse, and then it's like, how are you gonna communicate in those times? Right. You know, very important.
Yeah. Conflict does. I mean, it forges. You're forced through the fire per se.
Yeah.
You know, it's something about when you go through something challenging with your brothers. Y'all both like just grinding and just going through that fire.
Yeah.
And you guys emerge on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
Not only refined by that fire, but that bond got tighter too.
Yeah. That's super cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, I love that. So true.
So I wanted to ask you as well. I know I was talking to you a bit earlier. Where specifically? So where are you from? Where were you born? Like, you know, where have you been? Those types. Can you kind of answer those questions for us?
I was born in Compton, California. I was raised, you know, I was a Section 8 baby. Mm-hmm. So I was raised in different parts of LA. Whatever Section 8 took me and my mom's, you know, from Jordan Downs to Midtown to Inglewood, and then to Palmdale, and then Lancaster. Now back in LA,
right?
You know, so that's kind of been like the inner city
essentially, right? So, do you think that had an influence on who you are today?
Absolutely. I mean, it did influence me in a certain way, but you know, I always kind of just been on my own island,
right.
You know, especially, you know, dealing with LA and the gang culture out here in LA, you know, in those neighborhoods that I was raised in, I was always like an independent thinker,
right?
So, hang out, with some of the homies and some of the guys, and
Right.
they'd be like, man, you might as well just go ahead and,
Do
get
the
put on
school
the
thing,
set. You over here anyway.
Right.
I'm like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I'm just doing my own thing. Like, always thought outside of the box of convention,
Different. We're different.
Yeah, I wasn't really into like pledging allegiance to any teams. Like, you know what I mean? That just wasn't me.
Yeah.
But the culture within itself, it has, being in LA, it has no other choice but to leave its imprint on you in some shape, form, or fashion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but it did kind of cultivate my worldview.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere from my, spiritualism to, because LA is like it's so
Melting pot.
It's a melting pot, and there's so many beautiful elements of it.
Yeah.
You can't say one thing about LA. LA is this, because you'll be doing it a disservice.
Yeah.
So that's why I like it. It's multicultural. It has a lot of different interesting facets. The people are unique and different walks in life, different ideologies.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of represent that.
Yeah, a lot of culture out here. A lot of culture.
We gotta thank LA for bringing you onto the winning lifestyle.
For sure, absolutely, absolutely.
I gotta thank our guest. Do you have any other questions, CJ?
No, I think that's
we got a lot of topics covered. Yeah, thanks so much for coming on, my man.
Saylessi,
yes, sir.
My God,
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Man. All right, and I'll post all the links on my website.
All right, bless up,
take
y'all.
care. Bless up.